Well, bugger me. It seems my internet connection is wanting to be uncooperative, so I may not even get to most of the stories that I want to get to tonight. So let me, I guess, go for some of the easier ones to go for, and then we'll start to cascade down, and hopefully we get through what we get through. Obamacare contraception. Suits pile up. Get ready, Supreme Court. The lawsuits over Obamacare's contraception mandate are appearing almost weekly in federal courts. It's just a matter of time before the Supreme Court addresses the issue, experts tell the New York Times. It's not just religious groups that are suing. Private companies like Hobby Lobby have kicked up a fuss too. And different courts have come down on either side of the issue. Some judges are allowing companies to avoid complying with the law, which I think is stupid, but I digress. While their cases are in court, others are backing up the government. The law requires employers to fund all contraceptive methods and sterilization procedures. Great! Maybe I can get my vasectomy that would make it so that I don't have any more kids. I think those of you who absolutely hate me would love that I don't reproduce anymore. And luckily for you, I've had enough of child rearing outside of my fiance's kids, and I do not, and nor does she want, any more children. Religious employers don't have to follow the law, but some related organizations don't fit the government's strict definition. For example, because their client base encompasses a wide range of religious backgrounds. Which is true. Sorry, Hobby Lobby, you freaking lose. Courts have called the government to address the exemption issue. Meanwhile, scholars are taking vying viewpoints. Religious groups, quote, ought to be able to run themselves in accordance with their religious teachings, says one. But another notes, you could have an objection of conscience to anything the government wants to do, which is also a valid point. Here's the thing. Now, reading up on the information, I've got to do a little backtracking, so please stick with me on this, because some of you might like this. This is going to be another moment where I'm going to admit that we may not be quite as screwed as I've been talking about. When reading and reviewing a lot of the information when in regards to population as specified by the anti-GMO activist who has recently recanted his activities as an anti-GMO activist, realizing that science actually backs up the GMOs. Sorry, those of you who hate Monsanto, but they're not entirely an evil corporation. Well, at least their product is not evil. Now, they themselves, that's debatable, but if you're going to say GMOs are evil, I have to say to you, prove it with science. Not this pseudoscience, not with any sort of site that has the word natural news in it, anywhere near its titles, because those are sites that are dedicated to fear-mongering and misinformation. They are the Fox News of well-meaning people who do believe that if it ain't natural, it ain't right, and it ain't to be in your body. Just like vaccines. And I'm sorry, but that's not a correct way to look at life, and in fact is a danger not to yourselves necessarily, but to everybody else around you. As I discussed in my vaccination talk, link is down in the underbar. But global reproduction rates are starting to stabilize. Now, will that last, though? That's not something that can be correctly predicted at this point in time. I am right that our seemingly infinite resources are finite, which is where GMOs kind of come in. But we're not entirely at the point of overpopulation, and so I've got to say that I was wrong, and I admit that. But numbers are still not on our side or on that side, and there does come a point where we are going to be hitting most of what I have been talking about, to where we're either going to have GMOs or a large portion of the population of the planet will starve. We won't have enough clean water to support livestock for the food that for the animals and food that we consume as it is. We're not going to have enough land to grow the crops organically, and it's just not, this isn't sustainable, which has been my point. And eventually we are going to get to the exact points that I've talked about, because my data is off, but it's not entirely wrong. But one of these days I've got to organize my population explosion talks about these things, because you guys complain about paying for people who can't pay for themselves. Never mind how finite the job market is. You complain that you hate these welfare recipients, yet you're taking away everything that they could use to make sure that they're not constantly popping out more kids and needing more coverage, meaning needing more of your money to be able to pay for it. And don't give me this contraceptions are pre-murder of pre-life bullcrap. You can't say life begins at conception, but if I prevent conception, I'm still committing murder in your eyes because I'm preventing one of God's gifts to me. Never mind if I can financially care for the child. Never mind if I have the emotional ability to care for the child. Never mind what my qualifications may or may not be on this topic here of child rearing. You don't seem to care. You just seem to care that I'm having sex at the pace that you approve, in the positions that you approve, with people whom you approve, or I should say another person whom you approve. And hopefully that it's done within a marriage, because if I don't, I'm immoral and therefore I'm a disgusting individual. Whatever. I really don't care. The point is, because some of you're not even anti-abortionists. And that's why I don't get why you're against contraception being a mandate of any kind, especially if the religious aren't being forced into it. And I agree. This shouldn't overreach and force religious organizations to do what they absolutely feel in their heart is wrong. And I wouldn't want them doing it to me any more than I would want to do it to them. So I don't care about the religious exemption myself. I have no problems with it. I would say, though, that if you're really upset about abortions, then contraceptions and vasectomies or sterilizations are a great way to do that. Then us heathens can sin without it costing you in taxpayer money. But no, you can't see beyond that, because what was it the guy who firebombed a mosque once said when asked if he even knew of Muslim people? Oh yes, I only know what the Fox News tells me. And this isn't going to be the isolated abortion issue topic that I'm going to be talking about today. The next story over is going to deal with that as well. But you want less abortions, you gotta pay, you gotta trade off, okay? This is, the law of equivalent exchange. I know I hate to bring up alchemy to people who are heavily religious, but let's be honest here. There has to be, you have to give up something in order for you to gain what you want. You want abortions to be almost completely gone? Comprehensive sexual education, including the naughty stuff that you don't want the kids to know about, including talk about condoms and all that stuff, and easy and shame-free access to condoms and contraceptives. These two things alone can have a major, major impact on whether a woman gets or needs to have an abortion in the cases where exceptions need to be made. You want exceptions for your religion, then you need to stay away from the exemptions when it comes to abortion. You can't have your cake and you cannot eat it too. Full stop.